Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. Of course, it's still Rise and Shine this Wednesday morning, and we're beaming live from Uyo, the capital city of AKWA State, Nigeria. Looking into serious issues happening around the country, the economic and social welfare of the people. But this morning, we'll be focusing inside AKWA, looking at some of the strong issues coming out of the state. Since the assumption of office of past Governor Moyena as governor of the state, he has moved in very strong strides to try and unite different sects of the state. And the Traditional Rulers Council was not left out in the bid to make sure that we are a united front and a holistically peaceful people. And that's where we saw the adoption of the bill looking to regularize certain activities of the Supreme Council of Traditional Rulers in AKWA State. Recently, that bill was accented into law, and we can now establish, just as in the video you watched on earlier, where he said no particular ethnic group in the state is superior to the other. So whether you are Anang, whether you are of the Oro nation, if you are IBOM, and the other subsect, none is superior to the other. And that is what this particular law that has been signed seeks to establish. We have Citizen Matthew O'Connor joining us this morning. Here's a very strong voice where the proceedings of the Supreme Council of Traditional Rulers conversation holds, and we're going to be looking into the benefits of some of the processes in this particular bill this morning. Good morning, Citizen Matthew O'Connor. Thanks for joining us. Good morning, Citizen Matthew. Good to have you on Rise and Shine.
Good morning. Thank you very much.
All right. How is the city of Uyo today?
Uyo is typical for what we have come to know it for some days now. There is no fuel. Those that are able to buy fuel buy black markets, and the shortest distance now goes for about 300 naira. And it is absolutely unaccepted. It is absolutely inhuman, and something should be done about it, because it is pushing citizens to the breaking point where people may just react, and it would not augur well for us as a people. The hardship is unbearable.
In AKWA State, we hear that petrol is going for as high as 2,500 because Nupeng and the JTF are having issues. So these two agencies are having issues, and then people are suffering. And as opposed to buying fuel for about 1,200, 1,500, we are now buying it between 2,000 and 2,500 because of petrol tanker issues between Nupeng and JTF. Is there no way for us to see that this matter is quickly resolved, not to add to the pressure that AKWA might are already facing?
Well, if I'm not wrong, I think the issue is not between Nupeng and JTF. I think it's rather between IPMAN and JTF. And we saw a circular that was made that a certain petroleum marketer somewhere in Igbo was caught maybe doing illegal business, and two of his trucks and some drums of fuel were seized by JTF. And they demanded that the JTF should return the trucks to the marketer, and I learned that JTF said they should go to court if what we are doing was not illegal. And instead of going to court, the petrol marketer, some of them are very influential, garnered the support of his colleagues, and then gave an ultimatum which has taken effect. IPMANs are the ones owning petrol stations, and they have shut down. And that is not just the worst part of it. The worst part is that currently we do not have the monitoring team or a task force, like the governor said he was going to set up a task force. And not too long ago, we had somebody who came on air to say that he is the SSA on petroleum matters. His name is Victor Etefia, and he happens to also be an IPMAN member and a marketer. He owns filling stations. And within this period, we have not heard any press statement from the senior special advisor to the governor. Neither is there a monitoring team. And since some of us have not even seen an official appointment letter to the fact that we have a senior special assistant on petroleum matters, citizens are confused because we cannot have somebody man an office. And we also have a commissioner who is supposed to be in charge of petroleum matters. Nobody is speaking. Some persons hold public office, but only depend on His Excellency the Governor to attend to every matter. It is very, very bad for the image of the government and even the Governor of Akwa Ibom State that the entire state is allowed to be thrown into this kind of terrible situation because of personal interest of somebody who maybe could have gone to court to exact his right. But rather, Ipman has chosen to stand by their member to throw the entire state into this kind of problem. It is unacceptable. It is an indictment on this system, and something should be done, and that very possibly today. It is nothing difficult in announcing or issuing the appointment letter for us to see. After the person has said he has been given an appointment letter, but is it working? This is the time we are supposed to see action. Unfortunately, we are not seeing it. So something should be done today. Otherwise, the Labour has also given notice that by 12 midnight of today, 25th of September 2024, Akwa Ibom workers will down tools because there's no way they can get to their offices. Everybody is now doing what has come to be known as, I'm not promoting any brand, Legalis Benz. We all trek. I had to pay almost triple of what I normally pay to get to my office to be able to do this podcast because I didn't want to do it from home since I have other appointment immediately thereafter. I paid triple what I used to pay just to get to my office. A distance that before the taking over of this administration used to be 50 naira, but is now 300 naira. It is unacceptable.
From paying 50 naira for that distance to paying 300 naira within a year of this particular administration.
Yes.
That's beyond incredible. Okay, but we do hope that the state government, just as you have said, will effectively put to use the joint task force where petroleum activities in the state is concerned. We know that there's a lot of confusion in that space, but we shouldn't be hearing this kind of difficulty brought forward by the rivalry of all of the petroleum units in Akwa Ibom. But we move on from there. We know that you are a strong hand where the Traditional Rulers Council is concerned, having served at some point as secretary, if my memory serves me correctly, for that particular forum. So we see that since Governor Pastor Moino came on board, he's been trying to align things and keep peace within that forum. So let's talk about the Traditional Rulers Council law that has been amended. What are some of the things that we've seen worked on within the bill?
Thank you very much. I want to correct an impression. I have never been a secretary to the Traditional Rulers Council.
Okay.
But because of my service, my love for society, my communal spirit, I was the Secretary General of Ibibio Elders Forum.
That was the mix-up.
Because of that responsibility, I had the privilege of working at the highest level with the community leaders and traditional rulers. And above all of that, because of my activism, remember during the very obnoxious National Water Resources Bill that was brought up by former President Buhari, Open Forum had a town hall meeting where that matter was discussed, and I've always had traditional rulers and traditional rulers attend Open Forum town hall meetings. But that was very special, which after that we had a World Press Conference attended and addressed by me and paramount rulers. Okay. And the communique was signed by all the paramount rulers in the state except one. The second person wasn't disposed, and he didn't want somebody to sign for him. So I have interacted with all the paramount rulers in the state, and I know their capacity, I know their love for the land, and I have been that privileged.
Okay.
Remember, when this law was signed in 2022, I spoke about it because of the ill will, the pain, what some persons call very obnoxious and unacceptable segmentation of the state into categories. I spoke both on radio and TV, and my input was regarded as one of the best expressed, and I was actually commended by loyal fathers who honored me by sending their messages that I have spoken well. Remember, it was also on your on Spectrum TV. Going forward, the issue that caused that very uproar had to do with the leadership style of the previous administration, who was not able to carry people along. There was a level of impunity when matters are handled. And so the matter of AKWA IBOM having a preeminent king who will be able to fit in to national politics or national leadership of the traditional last forum, I was a strong advocate for that before it even came up. So we had to defend that, but the impunity that went into it, without proper consultation with the royal fathers, trying to carry everybody along, and some other factors which I may not be able to say on air here, led our royal fathers from Anang segments of AKWA IBOM and some from oral segments to say they would not accept. And politicians got into the fray, and we saw protests. We saw even women pouring libations at the House of Assembly, and they said they would never accept it, and they stayed away from meetings even called by the governor. Our royal father stayed away. They said it's not acceptable. The former governor did not have the capacity to handle that matter, because sometimes no problems can be solved using the same consciousness that created it. So I want to commend His Excellency Pastor Moeno. He has shown so far that he is a leader with a listening ear. And 1 year, exactly 1 year after, remember it was the 23rd of September when that law was signed and the protest was held. The state was in turmoil. On the same day, 1 year after, like I heard you say, all the paramount rulers in the state were present at the signing of the Third Amendment of the Traditional Rulers Law Amended Cap 155 of 2022. That is a massive achievement. Though for me, there are still some gray areas that must be addressed. One of it, I want to raise it here, is, in fact, it was contained in the initial law. AKWA IBOM is described as having some major ethnic groups. Let me read one of the sections from what we've seen online. It says that 4 years, the President General shall be appointed by the governor for 4 years, which may be renewed for another period of 4 years at the governor's discretion. And it goes forward to say that the office of the President General shall be rotational amongst 3 major ethnic groups. Note, 3 major ethnic groups in AKWA IBOM state or in the state. And when you want to look at the meaning of ethnic groups, you will discover that going by our forebears, who in 1927 started the Ibibio Union in Calabar, by 1928 they came together and amalgamated the Ibibio Mainland Association, and it became the Ibibio Union in 1928. That very union was made up of all the sections in what is today AKWA IBOM state. People from Abak, Ekedi, Kodekpeni, Kodaba, Sejelo, Popo, Ituyo, and Calabar province under the British colonial administration, that shows you that we are a one-tribe state. And we had an person who served as the maiden Secretary General of the Libyan Union. We had another person who was the first Vice President. We had another person who became the President General of the Union. And fast forward to now, we now have 3 major ethnic groups. That is absolutely impossible. Why? Because by definition, ethnic groups is a set of social groups having a common national or cultural tradition, whereas a tribe is a social division consisting of families or communities linked by blood ties with common culture and dialect having recognized leader. Further, ethnic groups have distinct language and culture. Does AKWA IBOM have 3 ethnic groups with distinct language and culture? I doubt. Whereas tribes are offshoots of ethnic groups, this means that they could speak a dialect of an ethnic group or have a slightly different subculture of an ethnic group. There's no section in this state that does not understand the Libyan language.
Absolutely not.
And there was no section that was not represented in the Libyan Union. When the scholarships were given, the 6 meters of light, it was given across the state. When the women who were given scholarships in 1949, which people are not even aware, a number of persons are not even aware that the Libyan Union gave scholarships to their daughters too, 6 of them. They were given across. Though some of them, about 2 sections, could not produce qualified persons that are then, and then 4 of them went, and up till now, I'm still battling to trace the families of those women. So, politics has infiltrated into the traditional institution.
Okay.
And it is impossible for us to allow the traditional institution that holds the fabric of who we are. Our culture is our immunity. And somebody said that once we lose our immunity, we are vulnerable. We are losing our immunity by allowing our culture of oneness, our culture of being united, that was started 90-something years ago, to be diluted by politics.
Citizen.
It's unfortunate. And so I'm appealing now that term, ethnic, 3 major ethnic groups, should be looked into and be further amended. It is misleading for us as a people, and as a voice for the voiceless and somebody that helps leaders with ideas. This is my position and the position of Open Forum. It is misleading. Our children may never be the same, may never be able to go back to the foundation. And once the foundation that was right is done away with, you can imagine what will happen to such a society.
Okay, citizen, before any law is passed and even amended, it is believed that there is always dialogue, there is always conversation before it's been passed. Now, the law has it that 3 ethnic groups. I want to understand that traditional rulers of these ethnic groups were also informed before this particular law was being signed. Don't you think that they agreed to this, that they did not see it as you are seeing it? Because you are saying that there shouldn't be a division. AKWA IBOM should not be divided. But traditional rulers accepted this, and they accepted to it being that if at all we are different, we are agreeing to the fact that it's going to be transitional. It's going to be at every point in time that probably this person served this particular term, another person served this particular term. Don't you see it in that direction?
There's something that has been missing from our traditional institution, and that has to be with what I've been advocating. I'm not sure of the number of royal fathers, paramount rulers, even clan heads that have advisory council. No traditional ruler should sit alone and receive cases and maybe be invited to a meeting or be invited to a public hearings, and he leaves his palace with his driver and maybe a security aide and maybe a secretary to the council who is a civil servant, and he goes to attend a meeting, you should have advisory council that will look at every matter and advise the paramount ruler, who, by the time he attends a meeting, must be allowed to speak. Unfortunately, like we saw in the last administration, the paramount ruler said the former governor did not allow them to speak. But you don't allow the ego of office to make you want to intimidate certain persons because you pay them allowances or you pay them salary, or it is the reverse now. So, and that reverse has to be done very well. You know, monarchy sees citizens as subjects.
So in other words, what you're trying to say? Okay.
I am coming. Now, the reverse is the case. Politicians see themselves as the monarch, when the royal fathers are now subjects to them. It is unacceptable, and that's why we're advocating that traditional rulers must be in the law, that all of them must have advisory council who must be made up of people with patriotism, not certain persons, because I've had a situation where a traditional ruler had issues with me, and by the time he was looking for me to resolve it, he informed some persons he felt could be intelligent and patriotic enough to mediate in the matter. The people ended up messing up the whole matter for him because they feel that, oh, the king is always right. Even if he's wrong, he must be right. No country, no people can ever survive under that pretext, which is what led him to go to a 7-day hunger strike, and that matter is still pending. So, it is wrong. They were distracted by the other key issues of tenure and what other elements they were engaged, which I have spoken about. They could not look at the words, word for word, and the meaning. There's no way some of our royal fathers will see this and will accept, because the first open forum town hall meeting we had, I think October 2021, the Royal Majesty in Zimbabwe was the royal father of the day. And he spoke and he said, our Bible is a one-tribe state. We only have dialectical differences.
I believe that that's a very...
One ethnic state, interchangeably, one ethnic state with tribal differences. That has not changed. What has changed is that even politicians that craft this law have not been mindful of the meaning of words. And I've just told you what an ethnic group is and what tribes are, and in this law, it will not speak well. This law will have to be amended again so that we don't mislead our children who will see us as having not done well during our time.
Okay. That's a very strong point that you have, laid down, and I would say that I totally agree with you. If we can collectively push that agenda to identify the state as a one ethnic state, because we, as you said, actually only have dialectic differences. We are one kind, one people, one language, actually. And I don't think one culture, yes. I shouldn't think that that should be a very hard point to sell to the people eventually. But let's look at some other clauses within this particular traditional rulers law that has been signed. Now, the issue of rotating the President General was a key bone of contention at the beginning, where, the Ibibio man does not want to be put over, does not want to submit to the Anang man, neither does the Oro nation want to be seen as the insignificant one. What would you say, were the steps that the governor took to get to this place where they have now collectively agreed to have a rotational President General, which should come from one tribe part time, come from the Ibibio tribe, come from the Anang tribe, from the Oro tribe, and circulate. But also, so that you just answer it in one breath, the clause of the possibility of a President General's extension of time within the proclivity of a governor, I think it will eventually bring problems to that stool.
It still shows the interference of politics in selection of traditional leaders. Remember, the government or the governor, the only role they have when it comes to traditional institution is certification of even the village heads, to the clan heads, to the paramount rulers. The selection is done by kingmakers, and the mode of selection differs from one section to another. And since the President General status is a political creation, politicians who want to still have a whole of that, don't forget that a number of politicians, they must garner the support of traditional rulers and religious leaders, even labor workers. They want to make them partisan to support their cause. We've seen it over and over. Now, the clause that was in contention was something that I personally got confused, because the initial draft of that bill had talked about rotation. When that begins from Ibibio, the Anang will follow, because Anang is seen as the second largest tribe, then Oro, and then the position was supposed to be permanent for life. And then along the line, we now heard that the position is to be retained by the Bibios permanently, that even after the death of Okwibomi Bibio, who is the preeminent king in the Bibio land, the next Okwibo will become still the chairman. And unfortunately, people like me, I try to have access to that law as was signed. Till today, I have not. So there was a confusion there. Be that as it may, do we have need for a preeminent king to be attending national council meetings or even international events consistently for a period, because other royal fathers like Sultan of Sokoto, Oni of Ife, Totiv of Boko, Pongpom Jos, Oba of Benin, name them. They have been attending that meeting all their lives, and they will keep attending till they join their ancestors. Another person will emerge, and they will continue like that. But in Akwa Ibom State, the law of succession in the State Traditional Rulers Council had been a single-year tenure for any paramount ruler that emerges. It was increased to 2 years. So within that 2 years, a particular paramount ruler for the local government chairs the State Traditional Rulers Council and attends meetings at national and international. And you can be sure, if such a person gets appointed to a national office, he may not last for 1 month or 2 months. He may not even know what were the last discussions. So we cannot do away with the fact that we need somebody who should be attending a meeting at the national level to give us that level, that clout. Our kings are awesome. We have professors, we have brilliant, I've met one of them. Now, this law says 4 years at first instance, and then renewable for another 4 years. Whereas, we still have the chairman of the Traditional Rulers Council who is to be there still for 2 years. He does not attend national meeting, maybe except when they need more than one or more than one or more traditional rulers, then he can join and maybe with others. So it's not too bad that we have that. What may be bad will be the quality of leadership that is brought in, because some of the factors that led to revolting by paramount rulers, that had even the TRC shut down because they refused to attend meetings that were called, or even ceremonies conducted by the governor, is because of their feeling and the perception about certain levels of leadership which is unacceptable to them. So those errors have to be corrected. I foresee in future somebody coming up to say, I want to amend this law. This tenure is too long or is too short. But it is better than nothing. For as long as we've not seen any press statement distancing certain paramount rulers from certain sections of the state from what has been signed, we need to go by that until it is fine-tuned. But serious leadership, intentional leadership must be offered, not just the traditional institution, but the people. Remember, or let me just say remember, there is a press there's a publication in the media where the governor, while swearing in 11 clan heads and 132 village heads, made a statement that traditional rulers have been directed to shun politics and divisive tendencies.
Yes.
I'm quoting a publication.
Yeah.
I've not heard it from His Excellency. I'm going to look for that, because if the governor has said this, you look back at the last elections where the traditional ruler had to be the one to even endorse a man that was said to have been anointed, and the politicians could not do it on their own because they needed traditional religious leaders and even past leaders to come and do the unveiling of his choice candidate. It became controversial. I personally spoke against it, because you don't bring traditional rulers into partisan politics. They are royal fathers. They are supposed to bless. They are supposed to counsel every aspirant, every candidate that goes to them. But when you find any traditional ruler take sides, you know that you are dealing with a politician that stool has been infiltrated and will not have the respect. So if His Excellency, who was a beneficiary of a royal father endorsing his unveiling, it shows that it's a sign of good times to come. And that, please let me make this statement, because I may not have a opportunity to speak about this again. I'm sure you saw the Edo election. There's a video trending where it is said the Oba of Benin was rejoicing because Obaseki's candidate, Ozue Godalo, had lost. Have you seen that video?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, definitely.
Yes. But let me explain something. Are you aware that that video is not true? I had to fact check. That video, Oba of Benin is said to have rejoiced when artifacts were returned from Britain. And when Oshomole went to meet with Oba of Benin and now narrated how Oba of Benin was against Obaseki's election during his first term, you've heard what Oba of Benin said. He said he never said so. So you find politicians who will want to use very sacred, very revered tools to validate whatever thing that they do, which is for their good. It has to stop. Oba Benin did not rejoice because Asue PDP lost, and Obaseki is said to have lost, which is still in contention. We are seeing revelations coming out. That's just by the way. Let us leave our royal fathers out of politics. Otherwise, the same distrust that people have for politicians is what has been already extended to some royal fathers. And within the royal fathers rank, they are not one when it comes to their meddling, excessive meddling in political activities. That has to be done away with. So going forward, there are reforms that are to be made. But there's a lesson His Excellency has brought to the fore, which is mediation. I hope you know that he had earlier given the traditional rulers 1 week or a time frame to go and resolve the matter and come back to him with what they want. He met with all of them in the Hilltop Mansion. Now, the royal fathers could not meet. They could not do it. His Excellency, Pastor Moino, who is a man with a very good heart, which we have to capitalize on that. He has his weaknesses, yes. But we all have our weaknesses. But as citizens that want our leader to succeed, we need to help him by consolidating what he has done, because his aides may never be able to give input. None of the so-called champions of politics, stakeholders in local government, community leaders, could mediate. His Excellency had to call another meeting, set up a 7-man committee made up of paramount rulers alone. No community leader, no opinion leader, no stakeholder. And that committee was headed by a very revered, one of the most brilliant, a man that I've been privileged to work with, and I called him my father. His Royal Majesty did them East India. And today, we had a proposal, be it what they submitted or not, whether it was tinkered or not, since nobody has said, no, let it be. so let it be. The mediatory role. AKWA IBOM does not have mechanism for conflict resolution. AKWA IBOM does not have, I repeat, mechanism for conflict resolution. And some of the conflicts that are pending, the governor will have to work 24/7 to help AKWA IBOM have issues resolved amicably. I have issues too. And it also has to do with the royal father. And that issue has to be resolved because it must be resolved because my life and the life of others are at stake. And some have died in the course of waiting for resolution. And that is why, let me advocate once again that AKWA IBOM needs what do you call it now? AKWA IBOM Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission. AKWA IBOM Public Complaints and Anti-Corruption Commission. Let our people have where to go to. Because you cannot take your problem to the same person that is afflicting you and expect outcome. Okay. If our royal fathers could not resolve their own matter and needed the governor to intervene, you can imagine what is happening to ordinary citizens, even people like us, people like me.
Okay, citizen.
So that's another advocacy I have dropped for today.
Okay, so we need to also look at some of the gains that we might hope to have out of this. Now, like you have asserted, the governor has, in his magnanimity, been able to pull together all of these traditional rulers, made them agree to have one person go after the other as the president general to represent us at the national scene. What are some of the benefits that you foresee, apart from all the other things that we still need to reject to make it a good system? What do you think? What are some of the benefits that we would see this law bringing forward to the traditional council and the furtherance of AKWA IBOM state as a whole?
The benefit, one of the benefits would be that people who had thought that their words are laws, despite being anti-people. People who feel they can intimidate others because they have a vantage position will know that it is one of the worst things to attempt. Like for me, do everything, cheat me. I'll serve you like a little boy, which I've been doing because I believe in producing results, but don't bring intimidation. Don't take people's simplicity as stupidity. Because by the time they will say enough is enough, it's going to affect your authority. It's going to affect your integrity because you will have been exposed as not having what it takes to be where you are. So it's a lesson for everybody. And the BBOs have what is called coup, where you have 2 or 3 people together and nobody tells another person coup, which means don't. You know that you don't have leadership. Leadership is not title. Leadership is responsibility. And when you see citizens that they are subjects, you know that you have not even started. Even if you are a traditional ruler, you have to see the people as citizens and no longer as subjects. Subjects are slaves. Enlightenment and the fact that, like in my personal philosophy, where issues are involved, nobody is important. Why? Because your life and destiny may depend on it. So you have to dissect issues. We don't rule by decree. We rule by discussions. Despite the fact that mandatory consensus is the bane of one taking a good decision, but you must subject every idea to analysis.
Okay.
That is what is going to play out. Because people will be afraid that I don't want to cause problem again, but I have to be careful. If what are the other matters lying down on my table, let me address it. Otherwise, those that are looking for justice, including myself, I'm saying it on global television, my issues which made me to go on a hunger strike, and I was lied upon by people who were supposed to have been responsible, but felt that I could be intimidated, that issue is going to be resolved, and it will be resolved as long as God is alive.
Well,
and other issues like that. So
we can be absolutely glad that we now have, you know, by the help of the governor, a more organized system of traditional council. So we do hope that issues such as yours can, you know, be tabled through the organogram and then resolved. But I must say big thank you to you for giving light to this particular bill that has been signed into law for the traditional Supreme Council in AKWA Ibom State. Thank you very much, Citizen Matthew O'Connor, for your time and your contribution to humanity, especially in raising a voice and conversations. Thank you so much for your time. Well, strong
My
conversation.
pleasure. I'm very honored. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, very strong conversations that we've had. The most important thing is that, you know, the AKWA Ibom Supreme Traditional Council Bill has been signed into law, where it will now see a rotation of a President General coming from each tribe of, you know, all tribes available in AKWA Ibom State to represent them at national affairs. We do hope that every other sub-thing that follows in this particular law will actually build the traditional stool in AKWA Ibom State and bring it the kind of reverence that we see in other parts, of the nation. Yes.
You know, one of the things I think I want to applaud this law for is the fact that everyone will be well represented.
Yeah.
I mean,
I hope that the traditional rulers themselves do not politicize it.
Yes, because that's another flip side. They do not politicize it, because I see from the side, from the, you know, hint from the side of the governor that is looking for a way to unite.
Just harmonize them.
Harmonize them.
So don't make the Bibio man bigger than the Anang man, the
so
man. Yes.
Let's us have a feel of this seat. So that's where I'm seeing from the, you know, side of the governor.
Well, it's a good day to be an AKWA Ibomite. Let's see and hope that our traditional rulers interpret this the best way that will serve the next generations. But that's the much we can talk about on Rise and Shine this Wednesday morning. Thank you so much for being a part of the conversation. It's been a great ride with myself and Ime Emmanuel. I am IBOM, of course, and this is where we draw the curtains today. See you again tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your day and our programs.
Bye.